Hi, I'm Jerry Damon. We have a very special guest with us in the studio right now, Jen DeJong with the Dawson McAllister Ministry.
Yes.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
What a fantastic ministry it is. How did it come about, Jen?
Well, Dawson McAllister has been called to youth ministry for, 4 decades now, I suppose. And he's really got to start as a youth pastor, but then started doing a lot of youth conferences. And those grew in the 80s. He did a lot all over the country, and they would draw thousands of youth group, and youth kids would come to these conferences and hear him speak. And but he was only reaching certain segments, right?
Sure.
And he wanted a broader audience. And so he had the opportunity to go into radio, and he started off in Christian radio with KTIS up in Minneapolis. And from there, his radio show took off, and he got on over 250 Christian radio stations across the country in
Well, that's
the
amazing.
90s. Yes, and it was a call for teenagers and a show for teenagers and young adults where they could call in, talk to Dawson about their issues. He could give them some advice, some spiritual perspective on it, and give them some guidance. And then in the early 2000s, he really felt called to reach even more kids and thought, how can I do that? And realized that maybe going to Top 40 radio would be a good venue. And God opened the doors, and again, got on over at one point 200 Top 40 type of radio stations. Again, a call-in show for teens and young adults who desperately just needed to share their story with somebody and talk to somebody.
What are some of the stories they share? What are the issues they're dealing with today?
Yes. We hear so much about kids who are struggling with depression, anxiety. Those are some of the top issues. You'll hear kids say that they hate themselves. They have no self-worth, no self-confidence. There's certainly a lot of pressure that they're under for different things. There's a lot of abuse. We hear a lot of sexual assault. A lot of kids who are cutting and self-harming in various ways, all rooted again in low self-worth and self-esteem and other issues of their past, and just quite the wide array of different topics. We'll talk about anything that kids are feeling and struggling with. And we have a website, thehopeline.com, and on there we have over 50 topics that we address because we have found 50 different issues that are pretty prevalent.
The ministry really gives young people hope, doesn't it?
That's what we are all about, yes.
So where do you go from here?
So,
What's the next step for the ministry?
Yes. So after all these radio shows, we realized that where kids are, again, constantly following, reaching, how do we reach teenagers and young adults? Because that's our target audience. And knowing now that they're fully digital. They're fully online all of the time. They're very phone-driven, app-driven, mobile-driven. And so we moved our ministry completely digital online. So now Dawson's radio show is online at thehopeline.com on Sunday nights. And it's a live stream show. He also does a prayer show, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope a few times a week where he just prays for people. And another really big part of our ministry is thehopeline.com and our hope coaches. If they don't want to talk online, they can chat online with our hope coaches and get really strong one-on-one counseling. So,
any stories of miraculous stories of helping young people who thought about giving up on life, thought about suicide?
Yeah. A real recent one that comes to mind is a guy chatted in with one of our hope coaches and just was at the end of it, right? He had just lost his job. He had a health condition that was making it hard for him to find a new job. He had turned to drugs and alcohol and wasn't moving forward in his life. He was 20-something and still living at home with an alcoholic, abusive father, and just had all of this. He's like, what's the point? I'm done. I just don't want to go on anymore. And over the course of quite a long conversation via chat, this hope coach just kept giving him practical advice, because our mission is to bring kids from crisis to Christ. So we're going to start at their crisis. So just really practical advice on how steps he could take, things he could do, how can he go to the unemployment office, just practical things, but then moving him to have spiritual hope. Do you have hope in a Jesus who saved you and who loves you? And at the end of the chat, this young man gave his life to Christ, prayed a beautiful prayer by typing it out, was ready for this next step and very excited. So,
and the good news is it is faith-based, isn't it?
It is faith-based. As I said, we will start where they're at, right? Because sometimes they are not ready to hear about God at all. Our website draws 4.6 million visitors from all over the world. And so we don't know at what stage we're getting this person, but we will always share that we have hope in Jesus, and if they are open to us sharing that further with them, we'll go further. But we don't approach it with any judgment, just love and compassion as Jesus would, and hopefully allowing them to have a conversation.
How does the ministry relate to parents of these kids?
You know, we find a lot of parents come to our site because they can read our posts and our blogs and our ebooks. We have a whole library of free ebooks. And even though they're kind of written for the young adult audience, it really can put parents in the mindset of, oh, so this is what my kid is thinking. This is how my kid is feeling. And this is the advice they're giving my kid. So maybe this is the advice I can give my kid. And so I think they use it as a resource of how to relate to their kids on all these 50 different topics that their kid could be struggling with.
Jen, what message of hope do you have right now for young people watching this video and they're thinking about suicide, thinking of cutting or giving up? What message can you share that can help that person?
Yeah. Things can get better, right? I mean, so often what we hear is it's never going to get better, so why even bother? But there is hope, and things can get better. And if you open your heart and let Jesus come in, that he can restore your hope and really help you and take you to a place of joy, and you can get there. And it's not instant, and it's not like everything's going to be perfect in your life immediately, but there's hope.
But don't isolate. Keep it to yourselves.
Reach
out to the ministry. They can help.
Yes, thank you, for sure. So much. And Dawson has always said this, and we always say this too. Tell your story. Don't keep it a secret. Don't keep your struggles inside, because you need people to help walk you through this. And our Hope coaches and Dawson and our whole ministry team and the posts that we have online, just know you're not alone. There are people who love you and people who care and people who are there to help you.
What's the website?
www.thehopeline.com.
24 hours, 7 days a week, they can be helped.
Yes, our Hope Coaches are available every evening.
That's great.
Yeah, so 7 days a week, every evening they can chat online with somebody, but the rest of our tools that we give people on our website are available all the time.
Jen, thank you for
Yes.
sharing stories of hope and inspiration.
Thank you.
For the life of Jerry Damon.